everyone, and welcome back to the Museum Show and Tell Show. My name is Nicole from the Penetanguishene Museum, and I'm here with Genevieve from the Huronia Museum. And today, Genevieve had given us the theme of transportation, and because you challenged us, you get to go first. So what do you have for us today?
Well, there's one thing I do have to say before I begin and talk about this artifact is the fact that I have been doing a little research, and in case you are all wondering, I know now how to distinguish a car from a truck, but that's not what I'm going to talk about. Today, I'm going to talk about this beast behind me, and most of you are familiar with it. It's called, well, originally it was called an ordinary bike. It became known as a penny farthing, but I did not know anything about this kind of bicycle. I thought perhaps it was just a novelty and people, you know, like just to spin around on it because, and they like the novelty factor, I guess, of this large wheel and the smaller wheel. But really the differentiation or the different size wheels has to do with engineering or with physics. And that is because if you take a look at this, and keep in mind a modern bicycle, something that you've all probably ridden. If you take a look right here in the center of this large wheel are the pedals. And this pedal, as you know, on your own bicycle, the pedal is what causes the wheel to turn, but this is like a direct drive, and the small wheel back here is really just used for stabilization. So essentially kind of what you have here is a unicycle, but because the reason it's so large is because one turn of the pedal results in one turn of the wheel. And that will, I think I estimated, one turn of the pedal will push you forward, propel you about 15 feet. This is a really kind of inefficient way to move. It's a lot faster, of course, than traveling by foot. It's also very dangerous. You can see up at the top where the cyclist would sit almost directly over the top of the pedals, and it's not a very balanced bicycle, I guess. It's very dangerous that you could easily head over the front of the bicycle. It's difficult to dismount and there are no brakes. But on a modern bicycle, this was actually came into being in the 1870s, and it really didn't have a very long life. I know that we've got a photograph here from about 1910 of Norman Playfair of Midland riding the bicycle, or this ordinary bicycle. But I would say that 1910 was really, it was far beyond its popularity by that point. In the 1880s is when the modern bicycle was introduced, and that had a radically different way of propelling the rider. It had two gears or sprockets with a chain linking the two, and the pedal, one turn of the pedal, especially in a one-gear bicycle, would result in about 2 turns of this small gear in the back. And that allowed for a better ride, a less dangerous ride, and it allowed the bicycle seat, which is way up here on this bicycle, to be lowered so that it sits between the 2 sets of wheels. And you no longer, with that drive chain, you no longer need a bicycle wheel that large, and that became much more popular. The safety, it was called a safety bicycle, it was known as that originally, but and that became a much more popular option for touring. And what's really fun, if you go online, you can actually see that ordinary bicycles or penny farthings like this have actually made a resurgence. I don't think they're all that popular, but there are a number of companies throughout the world that have continued or have taken up the manufacturing of them, and they regularly have races. I know there is at least one race in Sweden, and it's really funny to see men in their modern cycling gear, their spandex and their helmets and their glasses that you see at this time of year, riding, racing these around a track. So it looks like it's a lot of fun. So that's my artifact of the day, the ordinary bicycle.
Neat. Now, I'm sure you get asked this question a lot. How do you get on top of one of those?
There is, I've not got it on ours, but there is a peg, and you sort of, it's kind of like getting on a horse, I guess, except you, it's right here. You can see, right, where is it? Right there.
Yeah, right there. I thought I saw it.
Right there. Mm-hmm. And then you lift yourself, you kind of hoist yourself up quickly, a kind of a leap up onto the bicycle. I can't imagine what that was like. I had an adult bicycle as a child, and we had a well, like maybe 2 feet off the ground. And I remember having to climb up onto the well to get onto my bicycle. And that was the only way I could get off unless I fell off. So yeah, I can't imagine riding something with a wheel with a 6-foot diameter.
Hence the fact that the next bicycle is called the safety bicycle.
The safety, that's right.
As dangerous as one of those. Yeah. So, well, funny enough, when we first started, Genevieve and I started our Zoom call, I was sitting in front of this penny farthing. And I was going to talk about that as well, because I think when it comes to museums, a lot of us have these penny farthings because they were from a certain time period. They were rare, and they're the earliest form of a bicycle, which is quite, interesting. But as soon as I saw that she was doing a penny farthing, I shifted my chair over a little bit so I could show another one of our probably more major and a little bit more unique transportation items we have here. This is a 1903 curved dash Oldsmobile. So it's a car, and it's the oldest car in Simcoe County, and it was made in Michigan, in Detroit. And at the time, this is well before the Model T. So this is well before mass production. The first year they made these was in 1901, and they only made 450 of them. By 1903, there was about 1,000 of them made per year. And that's still quite rare because there was about 30 million people in North America. So you think about the odds of getting one of these, it's pretty rare. Charles Beck bought this car here, and he brought it up on his Chamberlain ship from Michigan when he was transporting some lumber, and brought this back to town. And at the time, it only went 12 miles per hour. I'm sure the horses and carriages were faster than that, but it's definitely a symbol, a status symbol to have a car, and it's something that people would come from all over to see it drive down the road. A lot of people, when they come to the museum, I don't think they realize that it's a car because it looks a lot like a wagon. It has the same wooden base as a wagon does, and the wheels. But the engine is at the very back, and you can actually peek around to the back to see it. It would have used diesel fuel. This little stick, you can see that stick right there, that's your steering wheel. Oh. And there is a brake, and then on the other, there's a crank start to it. So you would crank start it, you'd hop in it, and there's also a clutch there. And I wasn't going to show it off just because I thought, we always show off our 1903 curved dash Oldsmobile. I thought it would go a little different, but it is quite rare, and it is something that definitely people come from all over to take a look at. I think every year we have a car club that comes up specifically, and in our parking lot, it's full of Model T cars, and they come in and take a look at the car. It's really neat on that day to see that. And yeah, that's my transportation artifact. And I do encourage you to come to the museum to take a look at it because of how rare it is. So
that's amazing. I wonder how easy it is to steer with that stick. I've seen soap boxes and they're generally not very reliable. It's not like a steering wheel. I guess it depends on the mechanism underneath, really.
Yeah, it just has yeah, you can see it here. It's just, I don't know how well it would turn these. Obviously it's turned to the right, so that's what the
yeah.
wheels in. Have not sat in it and tried it out to see or moved anything. But definitely I think that it was more about, you know, just the novelty of it all.
Absolutely.
And then even we have on that piece of paper there, that's your sort of your license plate. Because back then they would have a license plate, you know, back in 1903. So every year you just have to get this motor vehicle permit, and you would have watched it. And the one we have right there is, I believe, from 1906. Yes, the 1906.
Oh, goodness me.
So they had to renew it every year. By 1920. 1917, like we had license plates because there's more cars on the road by then. But when you think about, when there's only probably 1,000 of these made in 1903, and they were one of the only cars being made, and that's for all of North America. I don't think they were worrying too much about making license plates for them. So that was a pretty good one, and I'm glad I was able to shift over so we weren't both talking about a penny farthing. But I know that the reason I asked about getting on top, because that's the number one question when people see this, is how did they get on it? Because ours does not have that neat little peg on the back of it, and so I think they would have just probably had to step on it almost to propel themselves up, or it doesn't even look like there's a spot where it went missing or anything. So
okay,
to me about, you know, how they got on it. So I just want to mention, as we are in the month of June, and so for a show and tell, we have decided at the end of June to take a break, especially for the summer, because the museums are coming up to their busy season. And we also are on vacations and all that. So it's gonna be a little bit harder for us to do the museum show and tell, but hopefully we'll get back together in the fall again. But just want you to know that there's gonna be this 5 more episodes of show and tell for the month of June. And then we will be recessing for the summer, like we're in school, I guess. And so for next week, so we had to really think of some really good themes, right? Because we only got 5 more. I thought, because last week we did like a large artifact, and because this week we're doing transportation, which I assume we're going to be large artifacts, I thought maybe next week we could do like one of our really small artifacts, like one of our small we have. Because sometimes you don't, you know, put those on display and you have a lot in your collection. So that will be our theme for next week.
Okie dokie.
And hopefully we do not pick the exact same small artifact. I think that's a wide enough subject matter that we should come up with some different items for that. So
that's true. Just in case, I'll put something in my back pocket.
Yes. And we could literally do that because it'll be the small, right? All right, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode and you join us again next week. Bye.